Welcome back to Meticulous Mechanic. Hopefully today we can remove the cylinder head cover, but we're going to have to do a little work to get to this. If you watch my other video removing the air filter case, there was a hose down here, this one here, number 7. Cylinder head breather hose. We need to take that off first. So here's the cylinder head breather hose. Just like the video yesterday, looks like it just has one clamp back there. I just need to get that off so I can get to the spark plug wire. I'll just clean it off a little before I take it out. So I just cleaned it off because I didn't want dirt to fall into anything here. I don't have to think later. I just made a little label here. It says 2 air box. I'm going to put that right on here. Just a little piece of tape and a post-it note. It's going to go around to the other side with these angled pliers. This one isn't as hard to squeeze as the ones yesterday. So I finally got some batteries for this new light. It actually is telescoping, plus it bends. So here's the hose we're trying to get off, cylinder head breather hose. Right in there are the clamps. So there's a wire kind of in the way, goes down to the fuel injector assembly, I'm pretty sure. There's a connector, and then down under here, it goes over to number 3 spark plug wire. But we'll look at that a little closer. I'm just trying to get this clamp off here for now and remove that one hose. So here we go. If we can just squeeze this. Makes it more difficult to try to film and do it at the same time. I'm just going to go here and squeeze this off camera, see if I can get it off. Okay, I was actually able to squeeze this with my fingers instead of that tool. And then I was able to just kind of push it off. There we go. Like that. So here's the air box we took off earlier. And if we spin it up, this hose is going to go right there where I labeled it 2 air box. Right onto there. So right here is where I just took that cylinder head breather hose off. I'm going to wipe it off hair. So I'm just going to clean this up a little bit more now that I can get in there. All right, that looks pretty clean. So hopefully today we'll get the cylinder head cover off. Part number 1, those are the ignition coil couplers. And then part 2, we've got the ignition coils. And part 3, under that is the spark plugs. And then after that, we finally get to this actual cylinder head cover and cylinder head cover gasket. So part 6, timing chain guide top side. So one more thing, a little bit more paperwork before we get back to the motorcycle. If I turn the page over to here, we need to remember which is cylinder number 1 right here. This arrow is pointing to the front of the motorcycle. And here's the slot where the cam chain is. Let me go back over to the motorcycle, show you what I did so I can remember that. So I labeled the ignition coil coupler for cylinder 1 with a number 1. Cylinder 2 with a number 2. Some kind of a glare on here. There's number 2 right there. Now all I got to do is label number 3. Just have a little piece of tape with number 3. Looks like there's forensic evidence on this. You can see my fingerprints. So get number 3 on here. I did look at those wires and they kind of go where they go, but you might be able to confuse number 2 and number 3 if you're not careful, so that's why I labeled them. A lot of the other electrical connectors seem very difficult to get apart, but this one looks like you just squeeze right here and pull. That one's coming off very easy. So there's number 1. I just have my thumbnail. I'm going to push down there, and then it should slide off. Number 3 is a little different because it splices into this other wiring harness. There's number 3 coming out into this wiring harness, which looks like it goes into the fuel injector assembly somehow. Let's see if I get this one off easy. There we go, all 3 are off. So back in behind here, we're looking at the number 3 spark plug wire. You can see back in here, there's fuel injector couplers. There's one there. Okay. This doesn't really matter for what we're doing, but it doesn't look like these are in the way. There's one there. One for each cylinder. There's the third one. If you go over here and look, when we go to take this cover off, I don't know if you can see in that crack, kind of see one of them there, right in here. I mainly just want to get all these wires out of the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push them to the back and tie. While I'm labeling things, I might as well label what we did yesterday, the air cutoff valve assembly. Now I'll push those wires out of the way. So number 2. Little twisties. I'll just kind of tie up number 2 up here. Actually, that's number 1. That's very important. Tie it up to these throttle cables. Okay, let's see if that's out of the way. So that's better with that all tied up. Last thing here, and I've actually got good at memorizing some of the names when I did the radiator video. This is a radiator hose, cylinder head to radiator. I didn't even have to look it up. Amazing. So I want to get this out of the way. I don't want to disconnect it back in here because it looks like there's some dirt. I'm going to try to pull it through from the other side. So there it is right there. Down in there somewhere, down into there. And hook it with my finger. There it is. I'm just going to pull this out off camera so I don't break it. So it doesn't look like it's bending it too bad there, and it's just kind of hooked up here for now. So I'm going to clean around these caps really well before I pull these out so dirt doesn't fall in. I like one of these brushes when you can't get in with the toothbrush. I like to squirt just a tiny bit on the tip. That way you don't get too much and it doesn't run in. You even kind of wipe it off with a rag a little. I was having trouble getting in this crack with a toothbrush, so let's see if this guy works. Let's come in from the other side. Make sure you get the back good. So that looks pretty good now. But before I pull these ignition coil couplers out, I noticed there's an arrow right here pointing in the direction. And then this one has an arrow there. This last one doesn't have an arrow, but it's pointing pretty much straight back, like that. There's the arrows there and there. So you can see these ignition coils slide right onto the spark plug. So when you go to take them out, you want to pull straight up, like that. So I got the first one loose already. Let's take a look at it and see what's going on. So it has these two pins where the electrical connection is made. Up under here, like a rubber boot. Let's keep the dirt out. Looks like there's an O-ring right in here. This is all plastic. This is a hard plastic from here to here, and then from here to here is a soft plastic. So it looks like it was doing a good job of keeping the dirt out. You can see the dirt in there. I'm going to clean that off with a toothbrush. I'll do most of it off camera. So these are pretty hard to pull up. On that first one, I did end up spinning it back and forth a little bit. You realize that's rubbing on that O-ring. Oh, I think we just need to get that O-ring to break free. So if you pulled up on this too hard, it would break. If you pull this little rubber thing up, you kind of get a little purchase under there, and then let's see if we can pull straight up. Come on, Beto. I'm going to try pulling up and twisting. There we go. The trick is to pull and twist at the same time. At least I thought that was the trick. Got it mainly loose. There we go. Boy, they don't make that easy. But I wanted to show you. I took a mirror and I looked down inside this hole. Can't really see. You can kind of see it on the camera. Let's try this, see if we can see down in there. I'm looking in the mirror. Anyway, the reason I'm doing this, I can see it better here than on the camera. I'm checking for rocks and dirt and stuff. That one looks really clean. Looks like it might have a little dirt in it. I think I'll blow that out with compressed air a little bit. On my Suzuki, they don't even have those seals, and it gets full of rocks. So anyway, I like the way this one has seals. I'm making sure this doesn't fly back in my face. There isn't much down in there, but I have safety glasses on. So to get these out, I was able to kind of slide my finger under here, push. And that really helped, because if I'm just trying to pull it with that, I can only get 50% power. But when I put my finger here and twisted and pulled at the same time, but make sure you pull straight. So this one looks pretty clean in here too. I'll hit it with some compressed air just to be safe. Looks like I'm finally down to these 4 bolts that we need to do next. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it was funny, I was going to tie this up out of the way, and there's this little bolt here. What the heck is this bolt? I remember these 2 holes, and then it's been so long, this is the bolt that holds the tank on, so I'm just going to take a twisty and go like that. It's a miracle I'm finally getting to these 4 bolts. Oh, that wasn't very tight, so that's good. I'm not going to push this there because it's going to hit this. So let me get something different. Yeah, that should work. A little 5mm. So I'm going to push down with my thumb to make sure it doesn't come out of the bolt. Oh, good. I'm just holding down with my hand really hard. That one's good. There it is. Go ahead and get the other 3 out. This is a different one. It doesn't have the yellow tape. It's a 3/8 drive versus a 1/4 drive, and that works out pretty good. I'm just verifying that they're all the same when I take them out. And the last one. Oh, that one is different. That's got a little shoulder here. We're going to have to remember that one. Came out of this hole here. So what are the odds of this wiggling free without a battle? Well, looks like 0. Looks like it doesn't just pull up. Very easy. So I purchased most everything I think I'm going to need. I made these little boxes. Actually, I didn't make the top one. Kind of recycled it. So in here I've got my new spark plugs. And what else? New exhaust valve gaskets, which I said in the exhaust video I didn't really need those unless I was putting a different exhaust on. Now here's actually parts for this job we're working on. Those are those 3 little guys. Yamaha part number 5VY-1111G-00. That's these guys right here. So there's the box. And in here I was trying to keep this head gasket laying flat because it was all funny when it came shipped. But it's been laying like that. And it's developing a good memory. I'm going to need a gasket here for the cam chain tensioner. That's Yamaha part number 1RC-12213-00. Here's the cylinder head cover gasket. It's actually 3-dimensional because this is up there and the rest is flat. So you can see the curve where that gasket's going to go. So the cylinder head gasket number is 1RC-11193-01. I have the timing chain cover gasket in case I decide to take that cover off. Yamaha part number 1RC-15456-00. So this one's interesting. It looks like it's made out of metal. And that'll go up here like this if I decide to take this cover off. These are the little parts that go on the cylinder head bolts. That's Yamaha part number 5VY-111G-00. There's 4 of those. So I made sure everything's loose, and I'm going to try to get this off. I need to be careful of these fuel injector wiring couplers because there's not a lot of room back there. So when I go to pull this off, I'm going to want to come straight up, not push it that way. There's nothing really around here to push on. They should give you a little tab to... I know I don't want to pry anything in here in general because then you'll ding up the aluminum. So I noticed if I push up here with my thumb, it seems to be wiggling free a little bit. There we go. Looks like the gasket is sticking to the top half. I'm going to push up with my thumbs on this other corner here and kind of pull with this thumb and push with that thumb. That seems to work. There we go. I'm going to try not to bang it here on the frame and on the other side. All right, off, and let's just spin it for 3D view. This side's really flat, and then the other side where that hump goes for the gasket, right in here. Well, it's Murphy's Law. If you buy the gasket beforehand, you probably won't need it, and if you don't, you will. But this gasket looks pretty good. It's pretty clean. There's just a little bit of dirt here. I'm going to flick it away so it doesn't go in there. I don't really see any other dirt on it though, which is nice. So now is when we need a drum roll, because we're finally down to this. So let's just pause here for a quick coffee break, theoretical, and just glory in the moment. All that work just to get down to here. Here's the 3 fuel injector electrical connectors I was talking about. And so there's not a lot of room back in here where this valve cover gasket goes on. Just going to brush any dirt away. It's pretty clean in here, but in right here, there's not really any dirt. No, that's good. I'm just going to go around and inspect this and make sure no dirt falls in. I'm going to carefully clean back in here. It was hard to clean in there until I got the cover off. So on the next video, I'll actually be getting out the feeler gauges and checking the valve clearance. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, buy me a coffee if you want. Thanks. See you tomorrow. Bye.